And we're back on Fresh. Angela, let's tell people now how, or I don't like saying, let's tell people how it works, because you can't ever tell people how it works. But let's explain a little bit about the colors and the energies that they have and what they can bring to your life.
Sure.
Because I think people get a little confused. Yes, red they use if there's a sale, and red they use to attract a bull and make it angry.
Right.
You probably wouldn't want to sleep in red sheets. It might not be good for your peace at night.
No, but unless you have an ailment. So there's the difference, is that I can go through and tell you each color, that's for sure, and we'll give you a little synopsis, but it really goes very deep. And each color has a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual meaning. So if you're I wouldn't paint a bedroom yellow either, because it stimulates the mind. However, if you're suffering with any form of major digestive issues, maybe you have Crohn's disease, you have high digestive liver cancer, then yellow's going to support you. So there's certain times when there's exceptions when your body needs it. So, but here's the quick rundown. So it's the 7 colors of the rainbow. So we start with the physical colors, which are red and orange. Red's all about passion and action, right? So it connects us to our root family. It's about our survival needs. It's about the first 5 years of our life, where bones, blood, teeth, everything's developing. It brings us back to really physical means. So red's all about grounding, like the roots of a tree, and it's passion. So if you're having fear in moving forward, you want to take a look at this one, because fear stops you. There's no action with fear, where red's all about passion and movement. Orange is also a physical color, but it's based on joy, and it's about the creativity, hands-on physical creativity. So like your expressive arts. Orange would very much be on the movement of creatively expressing.
Which is kind of funny, because when you think of orange, I don't think there's any really unhappy way of looking at orange.
No, and
it never falls into the spectrum of unhappy colors.
But interestingly, it's a color that's not loved by a lot of women.
That's true, because it doesn't look good on a lot of women.
But however, it's not always how you look.
Hey,
right?
Oprah says everyone can wear coral. You just have to find the right shade of coral. That's what Oprah says.
That is true. And each color, it is the shade that works for you. I'm not don't be picky that way. But orange is something that women aren't normally attracted to, because the opposite of the joy is expectations. And if you have really high expectations of yourself and others in life, then you're going to have disappointment, which kills the joy. It also sits with an energy center that has to do with the sacral chakra. And without getting too confusing, it has a lot to do with what happened to us between the ages of 5 and 12. Unfortunately, with women, having 1 in 3 women usually sexually abused in life or going through some form of major, it's horrible to say, but trauma within that age group, for whatever reason, women stay away from that, and that's where a lot of healing has to happen. But that color is all about present moment. On a happy side, think of the ages of 5 to 12. What'd you do besides ride your bike and have fun? Like, you didn't have stress, you didn't have worries, you just wanted to play with friends.
But you also colored.
I did. We did. So that's about bringing joy back. So if you've been high expectations and a lot of stress, I would say take a look at what can bring you joy in your life and get to laugh. And those are the 2 physical colors. When you move to the mental-oriented color, it's yellow. Yellow is about stimulating the mind, the memory. That's why yellow Post-it notes. It helps us remember. It's great for teenagers because it has to do with the ages of 12 to 18. It's really about courage and about finding our empowerment, self-confidence, and self-esteem. So it's a great color for the digestion as well, and it's about getting rid of judgment. So as soon as we want to judge ourselves or judge others, we stop the flow of that energy center, which is the solar plexus. But yellow is a great color to brighten up for positivity. I recommend it for a bathroom in the morning, like sunshine, or maybe a basement where you need to add brightness into your life. So those 3 colors are very masculine oriented, red, orange, and yellow. And they're all about stimulating and movement. That's why fast food restaurants use them. Let's eat, let's move, let's get you through. Okay.
Interesting. Plus, if you had a digestive issue and you had yellow in the restaurant, maybe your digestive issue wouldn't be as pronounced as you once thought it was.
Yeah.
And you know what I did actually from one of your very first talks, which was about 5 or 6 years ago, when my kids were writing exams, I would go to the dollar stores and garage sales, and every time I found a little figurine of a yellow sun or a yellow fairy or something, I would buy it. Nice. And I gave it to them and I said, you're not allowed to take anything to an exam, I know, but put this on the desk when you're writing your exam. And it was just that little bit of yellow, bright.
It's true.
Positivity.
Yeah, it's so true.
And every one of them did it.
And grab a yellow binder, highlight in yellow highlighters. Yeah. Then again, you can start to see how marketing works, right? And how actually it does stimulate our mind. So there you go. When you move to the greens and the blues, it's the emotional base center. So green's the center of all. There's 3 energy centers below, 3 above. So green's about the balance of giving and receiving love. And it's all about the heart chakra. So when we think about how much, especially, I'm going to say as women, no offense to the men, but women are huge givers. If you give, and you're not receiving, there's an imbalance. So there's the issue with the heart center. So it's all about finding that balance of how much are you receiving as much as you're giving and vice versa. And are you taking the time to breathe? Think of your lungs, right? To take that deep breath. The one thought and feeling that can really hinder this area is guilt. And we sit with a lot of guilt. If we receive a compliment, sometimes we feel guilty, right? So it's all about how do we allow the balance of giving and receiving and release guilt. So, and if you're going through grief as well, green is a beautiful color. Emotional center. The other emotional center is blue, which is the throat chakra, which has to do all with voicing our truth and speaking with love. Yes, so very interesting. It's also the most calming, relaxed color on the spectrum. It helps with pain, with migraine headaches, with any form of stress release. So I highly recommend the greens and the blues for getting rid of any problems that, in life that are causing you ailments. Now, the opposite for blue, just so you know, is about excuses. As soon as you constantly make excuses in life, you're not voicing the truth.
So then would you add more blue in to stop doing that, or take blue away because it's making you do that?
No, you don't. Well, blue will support you in the positive aspects.
Okay.
So if you're making excuses, you are probably staying away from the color. And if you're not living authentically. So if you're finding like you need to live authentically, you need to voice with love, you need to speak your truth, wear that blue scarf around your neck. Take a blue stone, like a gemstone, like my angel pendants that have the gemstones, and wear lapis lazuli. You can work with essential oils. You can do different things to help you support that area. So greens and blues are emotional based, without getting too deep into everything. The next 2 are spiritual based, which is the indigo and the violet. So indigo has to do with the third eye, which is called kind of the insightful point in between your 2 eyes. There's this third eye, which has to do with looking internally at your spirit, which means what's going to bring you inner peace. It's very much on releasing blame. Because as soon as we point our finger at someone, right, we're not taking responsibility and accountability for ourselves. So this is about, what's it about for me, like I was saying to you. And it really helps us see the big picture. So when you're really into the fine details, indigo says, you know what, there's a bigger meaning here. Let's take a look. Have you asked your angels and guides for help? Have you started to take time to see what the spiritual meaning is? That's your indigo. And your violet is your connection to your highest power. So whether you want to say God, Allah, Jah, omnipresent, whatever that highest power is for you, that's your connection plus your creativity. So here's where creativity is different in the spirit world than the physical world. The orange was about hands-on creativity. The violet is
I'm
about...
glad you're doing this because I was about to get confused.
Okay. So violet is the creativity that we find that we're channeled. So when you actually write that poem or you write that song or you paint that picture and you have no idea how you've been so inspired, but you feel channeled, like this was meant to come through me. The book cover for my book, it was such a cool story, and I won't go into the whole story, but the artist said to me that day, he woke up and started just drawing lines, and he felt like he was channeling something. He didn't know what it was or who it was for, but he felt that he needed to do this very colorful movement of his brushstrokes. When you see my book cover, it turned out to be the back of a naked woman dancing. When I saw that piece of art at a festival, I started to cry because for me, dance was my freedom and it was my release and it was my sense of being me again. So I contacted the artist and said, this has had such a profound effect on me. Can I use it as my book cover? And he wrote me back and said, that day I woke up and started painting the brushstrokes. I knew I was being channeled to do this. He said, this is for you. I know it's for you and it can be your book cover. So that's where the violet creativity comes in. Does that make sense? The actual act of painting is that orange creativity, Right. But the channeling, that finding that divine guidance, that intuition that always says to you, like, don't turn left, turn right.
Yeah.
Right? That's when you're starting to connect into the top energy centers. So when you combine physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and you realize the colors associated with them, it's powerful. So I don't usually choose my clothing, and I never have. Even as a kid, my mom, it drove her nuts. I never choose it the night before. I wake up and I actually say to myself, what do I need today? And like today I wore pinks, right? And like magenta pink, which is more connected to the violet. But I just felt, no, I need my dark magenta pinks today. So that's what I went with. And usually my day will unfold in such a way that I realize I pulled my colors for a reason. Right? Same with my angel necklaces. Today I'm wearing the necklace with rose quartz, which is all about self-love. So I was like, today's about me. What do I need today? And I have a very stressful, a couple of weeks ahead of me because I'm going to be traveling soon. So I was like, what do I make sure I need today? Because I need to stay healthy. I need to stay balanced. I need to stay well. So you can start to see what your body needs when you just ask it, and you'll get attracted to what you need. It's pretty darn cool, I think, anyway.
I think it's really cool. It's fascinating.
Does that make sense with a nutshell without confusing people too much?
It does. And of course, if you need more information, you can always pick up Angela's book and take a look at it. Yeah. You can go to her website, Live Life Colourfully, and you can find all you need to find there too, with some interesting tips and hints. But we're going to talk about physically bringing the color into your life, in what areas of your life you can bring the color in. And like we said, we don't have to look like the Jolly Green Giant, but we do have to take pay some bills around here. So you're listening to Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. We're with Angela Dacey this morning. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. Kim Mitchell here. However you choose to get around, your ATV, your snowmobile, your boat, car, if you have a motorcycle, all these things take 100% of your attention and skill to operate safely. Alcohol impairs that, and bad things can happen. So, be smart, okay? You know what I'm going to say next.
This message brought to you from the Safe and Sober Awareness Committee.
Do you find that mainstream FM radio plays the same classic rock songs over and over, and rarely, with the exception of specialty programs, play backtracks or B-sides from your favorite albums? I hope you can join me, Chuck Roberts, on Friday nights at 9 p.m. for my one-hour show, Classic Backtracks. We'll explore the backtracks or B-sides from classic rock artists from the 60s through the 90s, and play the songs that you don't usually hear on mainstream radio. And hopefully we'll play a hidden gem that brings back some fond musical memories. During my show, I also profile a Canadian rock artist in my Coast to Coast segment, and each week close the program profiling a classic rock artist's contribution to rock music, from bands to solo efforts or collaborations. That's Classic Backtracks on Friday nights at 9 p.m.
And we are back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. We're talking with Angela Dacey today, and I'm really happy to have her on the show because I learn something new every time. It seems like your brain can only absorb so much at any one sitting. And each time I talk to you in this atmosphere, I'm amazed at walking away with another couple of tidbits. Yay. So let's talk about the fact that you do not have to walk out the door in the morning looking like the Jolly Green Giant if you want to bring green into your life. I know you have a line of jewelry which makes it really easy to bring certain colors in because you don't have to have an entire wardrobe of bright pink if you don't want to. Right. I mean, you chose to this morning, but if you don't want to and you're still feeling like you want that little bit of self-love and comfort today, maybe you can wear a necklace that has the rose quartz like we were talking about, or maybe you can wear your favorite pair of pink underwear. Look at James. He's kind of looking down, wondering if he's got his pink underwear on this morning.
He's Pisces. He probably does.
Yeah. And James has his pink underwear. And Jay, I don't know what you're wearing this morning. Probably those lovely hospital greens. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, Angela, so how do we bring these different colors into our lives? And how do we know if we're newbies at this, what we actually need?
Well, you know what? Don't think about it too much. Just trust your gut. I open my closet and say, what do I need today? And I actually look at everything and say, whoa, this color's jumping at me. Just trust your gut. Definitely through clothing, it's powerful, right? And I mean, I have a girlfriend, all black. She's happy in all black. She likes all black. She doesn't want the world to really know who she is yet. So at that point, it kind of keeps her hidden, which is great. But, I saw her in a blue scarf the other day and it was like, wow, powerful. Like, oh my gosh, your eyes are bright. You look alive. So I'm a big one on, do it through jewelry. If you don't love to dress all in color, you don't have to. But do it through jewelry. Do it through a really cool bracelet. I always say wear one piece of color. If you're a guy, wear a tie. Wear a cool belt buckle. Like, I don't know. Throw some fun
pink
socks.
Underwear.
Yeah, wear underwear. Wear bras. I mean, we live in a time now with our, holy smokes, our lingerie department is filled with color. I remember the day when I remember thinking, why are bras like fun colors? Why are they all beige and white? And then all of a sudden now you've got all the big wigs out there in the box stores and there's orange and neon green and there's colors. So you can have fun with clothing that way. I would definitely recommend it through jewelry. The angel pendants that I have are great because each one has a tiny gemstone. There's 9 different colors that we use, and each one relates to a chakra and comes with a beautiful art card that tells you all about it. So that's a way to bring it in. Food for sure. Like I said, if you really need to maybe release some fears, and maybe you're switching jobs or you're moving homes or you're going through a divorce too, like something in your survival need has changed, think of the reds. Have a glass of cranberry juice. Make sure you use things like red peppers, eat strawberries, raspberries, while you're doing it with intention. Plus you're also receiving the benefits. So you can get it that way. In my gardens, I find every year in my gardens, I plant flowers according to kind of what I need, which is really cool. You can do it through that. If you need more green, bring plants into your house. So there's lots of different ways that you can bring it, because we're surrounded by color. Everything's colorful. If you have a journal, if you want to get more creative and connect to the spiritual side, go get a purple pen. Mm-hmm. So it's just really about, once you're aware, follow your gut and see how you can bring it in. There's lots of little ways.
So tell me something about black and white, which are at opposite ends of the spectrum.
Right. So black is no color, where white's all combined. If you hold a prism into the light, you receive a rainbow, right? Mm-hmm. Which is why we see rainbows in the sky when the sun goes through the little raindrops. So white is all colors combined. It's considered divinity. It's your connection. It's about innocence and purity. People wear white wedding dresses. It's about virginity. It's about the innocence, right? Purity, connection to God. So white is that highest divine essence, let's say. And we can get into silvers and golds and all the people that understand this. I'm not going to confuse people.
Okay.
But let's just say white is divinity. Black, on the other hand, think of it as, it's very respectful. If you wear black to a funeral, what you're doing is saying, this isn't about me, it's about you. So black says, I don't really want to show my true self. Okay. So it's about, I'm going to keep who I am. You can respect it. Granted, it's very respectful. But when I always think of things like a funeral, it's not about me, it's about you. So I don't want to wear a bright blue dress to a funeral. Now, if it's about a celebration of life, that's different, right? Yeah. But black is about that respect. So, and power, right? And you never really truly know when there's a black. Like if you have someone who wears all black, take a look if you walk into a networking meeting. If someone's in all black, do you feel attracted to go speak to them as much as you see somebody who maybe has a whole black dress on, but a beautiful red belt with some red earrings? There's going to be that little, ooh, there's something interesting about that person. I want to go talk to them.
Right.
So what are you trying to portray? And for someone like myself, who's very much an extrovert and in the public eye a lot, I'm very aware when I'm going places that if I'm going to wear black, I wear something also of color because I want to show that I'm alive. Black is the opposite.
It's very interesting because we just had Lori Benson on the show a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the traditions of Halloween. And the tradition of wearing a costume was not so that you could dress up and have fun. It was so that the spirits during the one night of the year where the veil is really thin, if any of the nasty spirits came into our world, they couldn't find you.
They'd be scared.
They'd be scared and they couldn't find you. So that's why we dressed up back in the day. And it's interesting now that you're talking about the black. Black is such a predominant color in the Halloween scheme of things.
Mystery.
Yeah.
It's mystery.
It's hiding.
Yes. And think of it's tied with the orange, with the pumpkins, joy, fun, childlike behavior, trick-or-treating, parties, right? Every holiday has colors that match. Again, it's all connected. And once you start to realize it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the symbology is really interesting because I've always considered marketing to be modern day wizardry. It's what it is. Marketing is wizardry, nothing short of it.
Yeah.
It's people who know that the red may aggravate you a little, so they switch it to orange. It's people who know that you don't use black in food packaging because black tends to make people think of rotten.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Blue suppresses the appetite. And if you look at, if I can say President's Choice Blue menu is in blue. It's about portion control.
Isn't that interesting? Probably wasn't done by accident.
No, and
I would imagine.
And just since you mentioned holidays, since we have Christmas upon us, not far from now, think of the reds and the greens and the golds and even the silvers. So you've got red, family, right? Connection to your root. It's when we get back together with family. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it can be negative. We have green, about the balance of giving and receiving love. We can also go religious. The red has to do with Jesus on the cross. Right? So then we're looking at green about love and balancing that love. We tie it in with the silvers and golds, which also combine with the divinity. So Christmas has colors that all have symbolic meanings as well.
It's It's one
every
of those,
holiday does.
Yeah, with roots in the pagan world of connection and very sharing season, bringing in the light, the green symbolizing the life that will come back and all the rest of that.
It's so interesting.
Isn't it? It's really interesting. People read things like the Da Vinci Code and they think, oh yeah, big Hollywood movie, big Hollywood book. But when you look at the science and the research that went behind books like that, it's fascinating.
It really is.
People have been doing this consciously or unconsciously since the dawn of time.
Yeah. And being affected by it without realizing it.
Without realizing it. And sometimes, when you draw it to their attention, this little light bulb sort of comes on and they, maybe that's
It's
why.
pretty neat. It's pretty neat. So now when you go shopping around certain times and certain holidays, think of, we've done Valentine's show before too, right? Pinks, reds, whites, blacks. Pinks, all about love. Red, passion. White, innocence. Black, mystery. That's why there's so much lingerie in those 4 colors around Valentine's Day.
Actually, there's lingerie in those 4 colors every day of the year.
That's true too. Yes.
Just a little bit more of the red at Valentine's
Right? But no one thinks of a blue negligee for Valentine's Day.
No. Mind you, I tend not to bring the holiday colors into my wardrobe too much. Like I don't walk around at Halloween dressed in orange to be a pumpkin. But it's interesting that what you say, you can actually bring those colors in a scarf or something that just
or food.
highlights.
I just made a squash sweet potato pumpkin soup.
Yeah, and this is the time of year for squash. Let me tell you, the delicata squash that's around this time of year.
Again, this is where the awareness comes in. Now you know. How are you going to use it? What's the action? Right? So if you're sitting listening or you read the book or you take the course or you do any of this or even just from our talk today, if someone's like, wow, I really need green. Okay, well, this is why my website, go to it, buy the jade green angel pendant and wear it and see how you feel. And see, even that small amount, you're doing it with intention. How do you feel? How's it going to make you realize that, wow, I need to balance this giving and receiving. I'm wearing the angel with the gemstone that's telling me to do this. Right? So once you start doing that, you'll start to actually see shifts and changes. And it's pretty incredible.
And I guess you could take that same philosophy into your home. And if you have a family room where people gather and you want them to have fun and be able to speak to each other and feel good, then greens and blues would probably be a nice accent color to your boring beige walls. But,
Very true. They say orange is amazing for dining rooms because it's about socializing and connection and fun with the physical friends and family.
But you wouldn't necessarily want to do it blue because it's an appetite suppressant. Although if you don't want people to peg out.
No, people say all the time to me, oh, I need to paint my kitchen blue. You know what? You don't. If you really are trying to cut back, then try eating off a blue plate or maybe have a blue tablecloth. Don't go paint your whole kitchen blue unless seriously you need to lose like 300 pounds. Then okay. I don't suggest it just because it is so powerful.
Well, they do have, there's been studies done of different colors of plates. And the lighter the plate, the more you eat. And if you actually have, it was trendy for back in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, that you had a very black and white kind of thing going on in dining rooms. And if you had a black plate, you would eat less. But I think it's because black also has that weird connotation of rot. It's not a nice food color.
Yeah, I don't recommend those colors at all for a kitchen. I mean, people congregate in the kitchen. It's where we nourish ourselves and it's necessary for us, and how we eat and how well we eat is how well our temple is to get us through life with our bodies. So I really don't believe in using colors like that in the kitchen. And when, God love the interior design world, if you're an interior designer, call me, we'll talk. Because when it was really popular for turquoise and browns to be in the kitchen, I hated it. I really didn't like it because the turquoise is the greens and the blues, but then you also have the brown, which is connection to that root family again, but it's very deep rooted stuff. So I just didn't feel it conducive to anything to do with a kitchen and a dining area. And I just had there's going to be a ton of people out there that are following trends, but that doesn't mean that the trend is the best for you and what you need and your family needs. So I don't know how much time I have, but really fast, I'll tell you something quickly. My son, when he was about age 3, for some reason, he went through this 6-month time. I think I mentioned this story before, where he didn't want to eat. Textures drove him nuts, and he little by little cut out all food, and it was scary. I was losing my son. Now granted, there was some reasons now I realized I needed to get home and be a mom because I was a busy working self-employed person. There's lots of reasons why I know maybe it happened spiritually, but for him, the point being was he wasn't physically connected to his body. And he was a real spiritual little kid. So I realized his bedroom, because we'd moved into a house, had all these primary colors. It was so bright and not what he needed. So I painted his room kind of that Winnie the Pooh yellow, like a really warm yellow, digestion. I brought in red to his bedroom, which normally, again, I wouldn't do because it's very active and stimulating, but he needed to connect to his physical body. And then I brought in a little bit of blue for sleeping. So when he stood, I'm not kidding you, at 3 years old, he stood on the edge of his bedroom and he looked at it and clapped and said, "Oh, Mommy, my golden room is so sunny." And that was his go-to place now. And then all of a sudden I started to see shifts. And then he started to eat crackers, and then he started to eat normal foods. Now he's like second year university and he eats more than anything. He keeps my Costco bills going. But back then, if you can take a look at what somebody is suffering with, and you can, like, even when I was going through grief, I painted my bedroom green. That little by little can shift somebody tremendously. So we can use it as a tool to help our physical bodies heal as much as our emotional or spiritual. So yeah, that was a cool little story, but I'll never forget him falling in love with his bedroom and seeing the shift after we shifted the colors.
And painting is such a relatively inexpensive thing to do. It's one of the least expensive things you can do for a major rejuvenation of something.
Definitely. And not to be scared of it, because, it is food for the soul.
And you can change it up if you don't like it afterwards, or you don't need it and you need something else.
And you can do throw blankets, and you can do cushions. And I mean, I know everyone likes a beige palette, and then they can add color. That's fine too. Yeah. But yeah, when you start to realize the colors, you can really start to tune into what you need for your own personal health. And that's a pretty cool, powerful tool.
Yeah, I really do think it is. It's great. Well, we do have to take a break here. When we get back, we're going to be talking about travel. Awesome. Traveling the world, going and seeing all kinds of exotic places and wearing your pink sweater when you do it. Anyway, you're listening to Fresh Waves. We've got Angela Dacey in the studio this morning. I'm your host, Bren Masson, and we'll be back in just a minute, so stay tuned.